Oh, we're a little crooked. You want to touch it? Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you see us? Yeah, good. That's good. That's good. Should be good. How blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He will be like a tree firmly planted by the streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. And in whatever he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but they are like chaff, which the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. Psalms, uh, book 1 or chapter 1. Welcome back, everybody, to the number one podcast of the world. It is Confessions. Today, we are proud to join you in a special 4th of July episode with me and Raju. And we hope that you're doing great today. And if you're with your family members or with your friends, or if it's just you by yourself, I hope that you are feeling very patriotic on this 250th anniversary of the greatest country on God's green earth. As you can see, me and Raju dressed for the occasion, and yeah, man, I love the 4th of July. It's my favorite holiday, and I mean, what's more American than the cowboy and Rocky? Two very polar opposites.
I feel like this is an outfit for me, but this is like, excuse me, let me correct that. I feel as if this is a costume for me, but this is actual outfit. You know what I'm saying? I can wear this. I can wear this anywhere.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, I'm pimping.
Especially over here, you can wear this. You can
Yeah,
wear this any day of the weekend, and
I s-
no one would even give a blink another eye.
I know. I saw myself in the mirror. I was like, hey,
Should be dressing like this more often.
yeah.
Not me. I'm just wearing my just so y'all can see. My phone. Wearing my Rocky shorts with my Rocky Balboa uh robe, and it's my favorite Halloween costume that I got. I got this one and the Father Derek one. So got two solid options, but I got to wear the red, white, and blue. Rocky is my favorite movie ever. Rocky 4, my favorite movie of all time. So it's only fitting that I wear, the exact outfit that he wears.
Whooping communist ass, you know?
But yeah, for every single one of y'all that are tuning in today, I mean, as you might notice, Brother Jerome is not with us today. He's not just hanging off the off screen. He is, spending time with his family. I think he has also some birthdays. He has a lot of things to celebrate. So we're happy for him. And so this episode will just be a little two-man. And so I probably will be maybe a little bit shorter than usual. I'd anticipate, but I think it's still something that we could all look forward to, and I'm excited for this reading that we have, and yeah, I'm ready to I'm ready to continue to move forward in this new chapter that we're about to start, because we're not only are we individually going down our own paths and journeys, but together as well, not just with this podcast, but in other ways too. I mean, we're about to move in together in the coming weeks, and I feel like that's just going to be another season of growth, another level that we're going to be able to move up, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just excited. I think there's a lot of good things that are coming in the future, and there's a lot of things that we've done so far that I think we can look back and be proud of, and also it could build even more anticipation for the future. So
Yeah, I'm growing right now. That's how I see it, and just aiming in which direction I want to head. That's how I see right now. And just war ready, just battle ready. And I'm thankful for everything that I've gone through. And I feel as if currently now it's finally starting to shift. the storm's starting to clear, and I'm just ready. I'm ready to hit the ball swinging, you know? So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm glad you feel that way because I feel that way also. And at the same time, I feel like in a good way, a storm's brewing. Like there's something coming, something big that's coming. And that's what we've been working towards for the past, however many years. And so on the one hand, the sky's getting clearer, but that's just because something new's coming, something bigger's coming. And so I'm excited. I look forward to that. Hopefully, y'all are in the same position and y'all are looking forward to it too. But yeah, man, just a lot of growth, a lot of growing pains. Every week, it's just something new, but we keep pushing forward. And I'm excited to get into this episode of the number one podcast of the world, Confessions. Subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's get into some confessions. And I believe it's my turn to pray. Or is it your turn to pray?
Bro, I don't know. I don't know. I thought my turn was last week, but allegedly it wasn't. So I'm like, all right, I don't know.
Actually, I
whose
think it
turn
is your turn. I think it is your turn. I got confused.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
I don't
I'll
know,
let
I
you,
don't
bro.
know.
I'll let
Yeah,
you.
because
Don't
I was
cry.
over here about to fight.
Don't cry about it, bro. Don't cry about it.
I was about to fight Jeremy for it. I was like, man, let me do it. Let me do it. And this go around, I don't know. I have kind of like two prayers that are on my mind. So
Like together or separately?
they're like ones that are already created, you know? So they're two separate ones. So I'm going to just go ahead and say both of them. And it also kind of teaches someone when you don't know what to say during a prayer, because I've run into moments like that. I always turn to the Lord's Prayer. So that's one of them that I want to say. So without further ado, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And the second prayer, I like it because how we're mentioning we're war ready. And this one goes something like, Dear Lord, the battles that we go through life, we ask for a chance that's fair, a chance to equal our stride, a chance to do or dare. If we shall win, let it be by the cold, with faith and honor held high. If we shall lose, let us stand by the road, cheer as the winners go by. Day by day, we get better and better, till we can't beat, and won't be beat. Amen.
Amen. Did you write that yourself?
That second one?
Yeah.
No. You can look it up. You
Uh,
can find it on YouTube. It's a good one, but I memorized it when I was younger, and it just makes you ready to go to war.
Yeah.
But it's obviously a prayer that's shouted. It's shouted like that,
Yeah.
especially that last part where it says, day by day, we get better and better till we can't be beat. Won't be beat.
Sounds like a football one.
It is.
Before a football game.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'd imagine it.
But it makes me want to, like, I don't know. I thought about it, and it makes me want to go to war. Like, it makes me want to, just fight. It's exciting, though.
Well, let's go ahead and move forward in today's episode and in today's reading. And we are picking up right where we left off in both regards. And we are in Genesis chapter 20. What is it? I think it's 25, 4?
25 or
25.
Yeah, 25.
Let me see. Isaac born, the bride. Yeah. 25. Now, looking at this, I mean, this is already going to start off pretty heavy. Now, right before this, just for a short recap, we had Isaac had just been given a bride, and that was Rebecca, and it was Abraham's servants was the one that went out and found her and had asked God for certain signs that if he saw them, if this woman performed them, then he would know that this is the one that was meant for Isaac. And sure enough, it happened exactly how he asked God to reveal it to him. And that's how he knew. And so he found that woman to be Rebecca, which is Isaac's cousin, maybe second cousin. So it might be a little bit better that way. And took her back to Isaac, and they fell in love at first sight. And that's where we left off. So Genesis chapter 25, for those of y'all that are in the audience reading or listening on Spotify. Now Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore to him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. Joksan became the father of Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letushim, and Lemimim. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Sounds right.
Yeah. The sons of, I think it's, I don't want to say Median, but Midian were Ephaph, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abida, and Eldah. All of these were the sons of Keturah. Now Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the land of the east. These are all the years of Abraham's life that he lived, 175 years. Abraham breathed his last and died in a ripe old age, an old man and satisfied with life. And he was gathered to his people. Then Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zoar the Hittite, facing Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried with Sarah, his wife. It came about after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac lived by Beer Lahai Roi. Now these are the records of the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, who Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maid, bore to Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael in the order of their birth: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, and Kedar, Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Hadad, and Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These are the sons of Ishmael, and their names by their villages and by their camps. 12 princesses according to their tribes. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. They settled from Havilah to Shur, which is east of Egypt, as one goes towards Assyria. He settled in defiance of all of his relatives. Now these are the records of the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel and Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Aramean, to be his wife. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord answered him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. The child struggled together within her, and she said, "If it is so, why then am I this way?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples will be separated from your body, and one shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Now the first came forth, red all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau. Afterwards his brother came forth, with his hand holding on Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she gave birth to them. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a peaceful man, living in the tents. Now Isaac loved Esau because he had a taste for game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. When Jacob had cooked stew, Esau came from the field, and he was famished. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please, let me have a swallow of that red stuff there, for I am famished." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau said, "Behold, I am about to die. So of what use, then, is the birthright to me?" And Jacob said, "First swear to me." So he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank, and rose and went on his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. We got a really long chapter after that. I don't know if you want to read it. Like, if we should read it. What do you think?
No, I think this is fun.
Yeah.
Keep this one short.
Because it's a lot. There's a lot that's going. These long chapters. I mean, I could read like
You
just the
wanna read half?
first portion. Yeah, I could read half of it. Okay, Genesis chapter 26. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So Isaac went to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and to your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants as stars of the heaven, and will give your descendants all these lands. And by your descendants all nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac lived in Gerar. When the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say, "my wife," thinking the men might place a kill. Wait, the men of the place might kill me on account of Rebekah, for she is beautiful. It came about, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out through a window, and saw, and behold, Isaac was caressing his wife Rebekah. Then Abimelech called Isaac, and said, "Behold, certainly she is your wife. How then did you say, 'She is my sister'?" And Isaac said to him, "Because I said I might die on account of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might have easily lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech charged all of the people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife surely shall be put to death." Now Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him, and the man became rich, and he continued to grow richer until he became very wealthy. For he had possessions of flocks and herds and a great household, so that the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines stopped up by filling them with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are too powerful for us." And Isaac departed from there, and camped in the valley of Gerar, and settled there. I think that's a good starting point.
I find it interesting. Well, two things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One being in chapter 25, where
Esau.
Esau sold his birthright. So what does that mean? And then that's one of the things that I found interesting. So we can touch base on that.
That is an excellent question.
Is it like selling his soul?
I have no idea. So, well,
Like what is birthright in those times? That's the question that I have.
well, the way I see it is, I think he was asking for his birthright was technically what's owed to you, from birth, right? Um, and the Lord, I guess, gave him a birthright, saying that one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. And I think that's what was Esau's birthright. And just reading the context. And so Jacob knew this, that I guess you could say that he knew that his life was going to be in servitude underneath his brother, or who came first? No, Esau actually
Yeah.
came first.
Jacob's the younger one.
So actually, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know what a birthright is. But we got trusty ChatGPT. So let's see what it says. What did Isaac mean when he asked Esau for his birthright?
Jacob.
Oh, what did Jacob mean? Yeah. This is like whenever was it Joe Rogan asked
Jamie,
Jamie.
look that up.
Okay. Let's see. It says, when Jacob asked Esau for his birthright in Genesis 25, he wasn't asking for a physical object. He was asking for the legal rights and privileges that belong to the firstborn son. In that culture, the birthright included several significant blessings: a double portion of the father's inheritance. If there were 3 sons, the firstborn received 2 shares, while each other received 1. Becoming the head of the family after the father died. Leadership over the clan and responsibility for carrying on the family line. In Abraham's family specifically, participation in the covenant promises God had made to Abraham and later to Isaac. Promises concerning the land, descendants, and ultimately the coming of the Messiah.
Interesting. All that for some food.
I mean, it kind of goes on. It says, Esau despised his birthright. This doesn't necessarily mean he was literally believed he was dying. More like he valued immediate satisfaction over something with long-term spiritual significance. This points as a warning in Hebrews and describes Esau as someone who traded something sacred for a single meal.
Interesting. Well, now we know that's major then.
Yeah,
It's
and
like a major.
and it continues to go. It says, although God intended for Jacob to inherit covenant promises, Jacob's methods were sinful. Throughout his life, God would shape him and humble him. Eventually, after wrestling with God, Jacob's name would be changed.
Yeah, I can see how that's sinful because he's like, I will give you this if you give me this.
Yeah, it's
You know?
it's like he's coveting. He's coveting something else that someone else has, and he knows that. I guess he knows his brother, and his brother. He said that he was what? He was a skillful hunter. That he was like a hairy garment. I guess you could say he thought that he was like a, what do they call it? Like a knucklehead, like a meathead or something like that. Like not very intelligent, just literally like a man. And so he thought that he could poke his eyes, take advantage of him, because he knew how his brother was. So he didn't do it in the right way. And I think, as we've seen already, the first demonstration is the fact that he did exactly what his dad did, right? literally the exact same thing. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the same guy too, like the same king. Because whenever we were reading earlier, Abraham
Oh, you moving forward to
26.
yeah. No, Isaac did that.
No, but Abraham did that.
No, yeah, I know.
Mhm.
Abraham he repeated the exact same thing with the exact same king.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was verifying.
I thought you were still talking about Jacob and
No, Esau. No,
Yeah.
no. Whenever it says here that Isaac went to
Yeah.
Abimelech and did the exact same thing that he
Yep.
did with Abraham, and I don't know. I think it's just funny how they literally did the exact same thing.
I feel as if Abimelech knew better though this go around.
Yeah,
He was like, nah, hold on.
keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
And he was right
Yep.
because sure enough, he saw them, and he was like, this is not your sister," even though they were technically cousins.
Yeah. And then he also warned everyone and prevented anyone from attacking them.
Yeah, and so, and I think that's like I think it's kind of cool to know that I'm not sure if Abimelech was a believer or not. I mean, it says that he was king of the Philistines, and I'm not sure if it was at this time or not the Philistines were persecuting like Christians or Jews, right? Or they probably are, but I'm not sure exactly at what state the Philistine nation is at. But at this time, he knew better because of Abraham. Like, I think it's cool to see that his faith is different than what our faith is, because his faith is more like respect. It's more fear based because he's scared because he knows that God is real. So he's like, well, let's be careful. And so I think that's just I don't know, I think that's just a cool way to think about how, because of how God's able to use you, and because God is on your side, and you realize, oh shoot, this dude can't lose. I better not go up against him. Hey guys, leave him alone. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of how you said it in the last podcast, like how you get this kind of aura whenever you have this level of confidence because of your faith, and that is kind of sensible, especially whenever you're going up against someone, an opponent, or in this case, how Isaac was in the presence of a king, and this king was fearful, not necessarily because Isaac was so big, strong, scary, or whatever, but because he knew the God of Isaac. He knew what that God was capable of. And so that's what drove his actions to be more respectful and in reverence to that God. I'm not sure if he was necessarily a servant, but he knew that he was real. You know? You get what I'm trying to say?
No, yeah, I understand. I find it funny that I think he just learned his lesson as well too. But you also kind of go further along and you see that he tells him to go away eventually because Isaac became very, very powerful. He became
That is
very
interesting.
wealthy.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So I wonder why that is as well.
I don't know. It's like maybe it's the problem of like two kings trying to rule,
That's true.
like where he's getting too powerful that people can kind of look at him as the true king or as someone who rivals the king. And of course, that's not good whenever you have two rulers over one piece of land. You can only have one. So I think that's why he sent him away.
Yeah, because it also says that the Philistines envied him.
Hmm. And I think that also is why, because of how powerful he got and how many people envied him. Maybe he feared that because of their envy against God's chosen man, that maybe that would manifest into something, and maybe they would harm him or they would do something to him, and so that would result in God's wrath being taken out on them. And so maybe he knew that as well, like shoot, they already don't like him. If he stays here, then something could happen and that would harm us as well. So it's better that he goes. But Yeah,
Like father, like son, though.
like father, like son.
Yeah.
I think
that's
pretty cool.
interesting.
How God still has His hand on him.
And then at the same time, it's starting to come into fruition that Isaac's starting to become powerful. He's starting to become wealthy.
Mhm.
And God promised that to Abraham that his descendants were to become rulers of nations.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
It's literally happening. And I think that I don't know. I think this is a pretty cool reading because it's literally we're seeing. It's like if you watch. We saw LeBron James and now we're watching Bronny. You know what I mean? It's like we're seeing the kid do the same thing as the dad, and we'll see exactly how he's able to accomplish his own uh whatever it is that God has planned for him. We're gonna see how that unfolds and how he's gonna continue the covenant that God made with Abraham. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And it's a good little story. And then we can continue that next week. And because it was a long chapter. But without further ado, we can move on to Mark and just keep it pushing. Let's see.
Where are we on 5?
We are on chapter 5. I guess in this case, you can do 5 and I can do 6 or vice versa. We can read 2 chapters.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Okay.
Let me hit the camera real quick.
Mark chapter 5.
Oh, real quick before we begin this chapter, now would be a good time to subscribe if you haven't already to the #1 podcast in the world. Make sure you open your Bibles to Mark chapter 5 if you haven't already. And whereas you move us forward.
They came to the other side of the lake, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when he had stepped out of the boat, immediately a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. He lived among the tombs, and no one could restrain him any more, even with a chain, for he had often been restrained with shackles and chains, but the chains he wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke in pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always howling and bruising himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him, and he shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you done? What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." For he had said to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." He begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now there on the hillside a great herd of swine was feeding, and the unclean spirits begged him, "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine. And the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the lake, and were drowned in the lake. The swineherds ran off and told it in the city and in the country. Then people came to see what it was that had happened. Then came to Jesus and saw the demoniac sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, and very man who had the legion. And they were afraid. Those who had seen what had happened to the demoniac and to the swine reported it. Then they began to beg Jesus to leave their neighborhood. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed by demons begged him that he might be with him. But Jesus refused and said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he has shown you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. and everyone was amazed. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered round him, and he was by the lake. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue, named Jairus, came, and when he saw him, fell at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she may be well and live." So he went with him, and a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages, yeah, for 12 years. She had endured much under physicians and had spent all that she had. She was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhages stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed for her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd, and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." He allowed no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the house of the leader of the synagogue, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. When he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside, and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha, come," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up and began to walk about. She was 12 years of age. At this, they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them that no one should know this, and told them to give her something to eat.
Chapter 6. Jesus went out from there and came into his hometown, and his disciples followed him. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and the many listeners were astonished, saying, "Where did this man get these things? And what is this wisdom given to him, and such miracles as these performed by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James, and Joseph, and Judas, and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his hometown, and among his own relatives, and in his own household." And he could do no miracle there, except that he had laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them. And he wondered at their unbelief, and he was going around the villages teaching. And he summoned the 12 and began to send them out in pairs, and gave them authority over the unclean spirits. And he instructed them that they should take nothing for their journey except a mere staff, no bread, no bag, no money in their belts, but to wear sandals. And he added, "Do not put 2 tunics." And he said to them, "Wherever you enter a house, stay there until you leave town. Any place that does not receive you or listen to you. As you go out from there, shake the dust off the soles of your feet for a testimony against them." They went out and preached that men should repent. And they were casting out many demons and were anointing with oil many sick people and healing them. And King Herod heard of it, for his name had become well known, and people were saying, "John the Baptist has risen from the dead, and that is why these miraculous powers are at work in him." But others were saying, "He is Elijah," and the others were saying, "He is a prophet, like one of the prophets of old." But when Herod heard of it, he kept saying, "John, whom I beheaded, has risen." For Herod himself had sent and had John arrested and bound in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip, because he had married her. For John had been saying to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death and could not do so. For Herod was afraid of John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he kept him safe. And when he heard him, he was very perplexed, but he used to enjoy listening to him. A strategic day came when Herod on his birthday gave a banquet for his lords and military commanders and the leading men of Galilee. And when the daughter of Herodias herself came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his dinner guest. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you want, and I will give it to you." And he swore to her, "Whatever you ask of me, I will give it up to you, up to half of my kingdom." And she went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask for?" And she said, "The head of John the Baptist." Immediately she came in a hurry to the king and asked, saying, "I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter." And although the king was very sorry, yet because of his oaths and because of his dinner guest, he was unwilling to refuse her. Immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded him to bring back his head. And he went to prison and beheaded him, and brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl. And the girl gave it to her mother. When the disciples heard about this, they came and took away his body and laid it in a tomb. The apostles gathered together with Jesus, and they reported to him all that they had done and taught. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a secluded place and rest a while." For there were many people coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. They went away in the boat to a secluded place by themselves. The people saw them going, and many recognized them, and ran there together on foot from all the cities, and got there ahead of them. When Jesus went ashore, he saw a large crowd, and he felt compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. When it was already quite late, his disciples came to him and said, This place is desolate, and it is already quite late. Send them away, so that they may go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and spend 200 denarii on bread and give them something to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go look." And when they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. And he commanded them all to sit down by groups on the green grass. They sat down in groups of hundreds and of fifties. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, looking up toward heaven. He blessed the food and broke the loaves, and he kept giving them to the disciples to set before them. He had divided up the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up the 12 full baskets of the broken pieces, and also of fish. There were 5,000 men who ate the loaves. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side of Bethsaida, while he himself was sending the crowd away. After bidding them farewell, he left for the mountain to pray. When it was evening, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. Seeing them straining at the oars, for the wind was against them, at about the fourth watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea, and he intended to pass by them. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed that it was a ghost, and cried out, for they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke with them, and said to them, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." Then he got into the boat with them, and the wind stopped, and they were utterly astonished, for they had not gained any insight from the incident of the loaves, but their heart was hardened. When they had crossed over, they came to the land at Gennesaret, and moored to the shore. When they got out of the boat, immediately the people recognized him, and ran about that whole country, and began to carry here and there on their pallets those who were sick to the place they heard he was. Wherever he entered, villages or cities or countryside, they were laying their sick in the marketplaces and imploring him that they might just touch the fringe of his cloak, and as many as touched it were being cured. Mark chapter 6. Initial thoughts?
I'm gonna go back to chapter 5.
Yeah, go ahead.
Initial thoughts with chapter 5. I feel as if this story with the demoniac feels new. With Legion,
Yeah.
feels new. I don't know if we did go over this with Matthew.
We might have gone over it in Matthew, but this is yes, I think we did go over it in Matthew. But again, this retelling of the story, it gives us like I think it gives us more of an in-depth interpretation of it.
Yeah, it's more detailed.
Yeah, definitely more detailed, and I think it's interesting how this man had many demons within him, so much so that they said that their name is Legion, for we are many. And I'm not sure exactly how to feel about them asking to be put into swine, right? And Jesus said, "Well, okay, so be it." And then they went into the swine, and then they went into the sea and drowned the swine.
What I like is that they bowed down to God. They bowed down to Jesus. That was a very powerful and aura moment.
I think I've heard this. You hear people say that they believe in God. Like if you were to ask them, "Hey, do you believe in God? Do you know God?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, I believe in God." And then that's the extent of their relationship with Him. And at the same time, what does that mean? To say that you believe in God, what significance is there in that? Because the demons believe. As a matter of fact, the demons bowed. They recognized him. They recognized his authority and position. So for you to say, "Well, yeah, I believe in God," there's really no merit in saying that unless you have a relationship with him. Just believing that there's a God isn't a substitute for being a follower of God. Because you are no better than any of the demons out there if you just say, "Well, I believe in God," or I know, I think there's a God," or whatever. And so I hear a lot of people that bring that up, saying that, "Well, yeah, I believe in God," but they don't actually follow him. And I think that the fact that the Bible constantly tells us that the demons recognized him, that the demons knew who he was, that the demons were in reverence and in fear of him, it just gives us further insight as to how just believing that there's a God isn't enough.
Yeah, I agree. And then it also gives insight to at first how they described this legion, that chains and shackles couldn't even restrain him, that he would wrench them apart and break them into pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. They made him seem like so
Like a
huge, so
monster.
powerful, like a monster, right?
Mhm.
And when Jesus first stepped off, he went immediately and bowed down to Jesus.
Mhm.
The just imagine that this big bad huge monster of a man, just huge. Everyone feared him.
Mhm.
Strong, powerful, breaking chains and shackles into pieces.
Mhm.
And the first moment that he laid his eyes on Jesus, went and bowed in front of him.
Mhm.
And I think that's just a very beautiful and strong interpretation of who Jesus Christ is and how powerful he actually is.
I think so too, and I think we could take that as we think our problems are really all big and bad, and we think that it's too scary to move forward. You know, there's things that we look at in our lives and we are legitimately afraid of them. We don't want to face them because we're so fearful of them. But yet they're little in comparison to our big God. They are insignificant. They are weak. They're nothing in comparison to God. So, if you are afraid, if you are weary and worried about the problems that you have, take them to God, because God will show you. He'll put those problems in their place. And if He's for you, then no big problems, no monsters, no demons, not even a numerous amount of them can come against you. And I think that's a good interpretation of this. It's a beautiful illustration, and I think it's interesting because I've always heard that demons or the devil don't have any authority on their own. They have to ask God for permission to do anything. So and I think this proves it here, because the demons are saying, "Send us into the swine so that we may enter into them." And Jesus, it says explicitly, Jesus gave them permission. They could not act on their own. God has to give them permission in order to act. And so I think that's another thing. It's like we need to realize who's won the war, who's who's the king of all kings. People can be afraid of the devil. People can be afraid of demons, but even they obey Jesus. They obey God. They cannot do anything without His okay. So there's nothing to be afraid of whenever it comes to topics like this, because I think people are like, well, what if I watch a scary movie, or what if I, you know, do this or that? And there's nothing that they can do to a follower of Christ. And whenever you are a true believer in Jesus and you hold Him in your heart, you are not something that a demon can possess. They have no authority over you. That's why I've always been of the belief that no believer can actually be demon possessed. No true follower of Christ, because their soul is not theirs to give. It belongs to Jesus. And as long as Jesus resides in you, then there's nothing that's evil or unclean that can come and take possession of you. And so there's no need to fear.
Yeah, and then I think even kind of going further along into this chapter, even with the fear of death, Jesus walked into the home of the leader of the synagogue.
Yeah.
And he walked around and he's like, "Why is everyone crying? What's all the commotion? Why is everyone weeping?" And they're weeping because they're over here saying that the daughter died already. And Jesus literally said, and first he laughs at them. He laughed at them. Oh, excuse me.
actually,
They laughed at him.
They laughed at him
They laughed at him
because
Jesus said that this child's not dead. She's sleeping. That's all it is. She's just sleeping. And then he says, Talitha come, which means little girl, get up. And he commanded her to get up. So I think I know we're mentioning demons and all this negativity and scary stuff, right? But even death, like Jesus and God is more powerful than death itself. And that we shouldn't necessarily be looking at death as such a negative thing to where we're crying and weeping in a negative manner.
But I think right before that, right, it says that there was a woman who had been dealing with hemorrhages. And I know this is the story of the woman that had always bled. And she said in her mind, and I think this is just a beautiful demonstration of faith. This woman who had been bleeding for 12 years, it says that she had endured much at the hands of many physicians, but nothing helped at all. And as a matter of fact, her condition grown worse. And then she hears about Jesus, and she sees him in the midst of a big crowd, and she touches his cloak. And while she touches his cloak, she's thinking, if I just touch his garments, I will get well. And immediately, as soon as she touches him, she's healed immediately. And the thing is too, it's not like Jesus explicitly saw her and heard her story and said, okay, you are healed. Jesus didn't even know who touched him. So he turned around and said, wait, who touched my garments? Who touched me? And even the disciples are like, how do you know someone touched you? We're in the middle of a crowd. We're walking through a crowd right now. Like, how do you even know someone touched you? And he looks around, and then he recognizes her. He sees her, and she says she feels bad. It says that she feels like she did something that maybe she shouldn't have done, which is touch this man without asking his permission or anything like that. And she lets him know that she's the one who touched him. And then he says, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. That's a beautiful story. I can't think of a better way to demonstrate what it means to be a follower of Christ than to be filled with no hope, to be filled with nothing but remorse, be filled with nothing but doubt. I'm sure she felt hopeless. I'm sure she felt lost. Like there was nothing that could help her because she went and looked for solutions to her problem, went to so many different experts, and they all told her, no, it's not possible. Or they tried to help her out and it didn't work. And not only that, but her condition got worse over time. And I think for us, we're the same way. She's like many of us before we come to Jesus. We look around, we look at our life, we look inside, we look in the mirror, and we hate what we see. And we look at it and think, there's no way I can be healed. There's no way that I can be a good person. I've already done too much wrong. I've messed up too much. I've made too many mistakes. I've hurt too many people. There's no way that I can be a good person. There's no way that I deserve good things. There's no way. And then you hear about this Jesus guy. Who the heck is this Jesus guy? I hear about it all the time. People were saying it on the news. People were on the sidewalk saying, get to know Jesus. Jesus saves. I always think they're weirdos. But for a moment, you feel maybe there's a little bit of hope. You hear about this Jesus guy. Well, maybe he is real. The other people say that he heals. I've heard people in my family, I've heard for acquaintances say that this Jesus guy is real. Well, let me check him out for myself. And then you get to see him. And it's like immediately you recognize that it's real. As soon as you get to encounter Jesus, Even if you were not a believer in the past, as soon as you get to be in the presence, you know it's real. And it's almost an undescribable feeling. And you get close to him, you get near to him, and you say, "Man, if only I can touch his garment. If only I could get to know who this Jesus guy is, maybe I can be healed." No, not maybe. I believe I can be healed. And you get to encounter Jesus, and next thing you know, you feel brand new. You feel fresh. The things that were once holding you back, you're set free from those shackles that you had on yourself. They're released. And Jesus, he looks around and he looks at you and he says, "My son, my daughter, you are healed. You are forgiven. Be at peace." And just think that's it's a beautiful demonstration of what it means to be a follower, because I think we've all been in her shoes. It's a beautiful story. Man. But I think it's also crazy how the people that were there, right? They all knew that this was happening. And the synagogue officials, and I guess the people that were in the house of this daughter that had passed away seemingly, that they did laugh at him whenever he said, "This child has not died, but is asleep," and they laughed at him. And I think at that moment, I think me or you or could maybe take that in the wrong way and be like, "Well, if y'all are laughing at me, if you don't think this is real, then forget y'all." But he didn't. He didn't do that. He asked them to leave the room and then brought this child back to life, despite their lack of faith. Clearly, they didn't believe him because they laughed at him. And I think that the fact that he still went through with it and still healed this little girl, I think it just demonstrates also that I think he recognizes Jesus knows how we are, and he knows that it's very difficult for us to process whenever Jesus performs a miracle. Whenever Jesus says something, sometimes it's too great for us to understand. It's too far out there. Like there's no way this person can be healed. There's no way this person could be redeemed. There's no way this person can be brought back to life. No way. And so we kind of take it and we don't know how to process it, so we just laugh. But Jesus is saying, "That's fine. I'm not asking you to believe in me because I can do this. Like I don't need your belief in me to manifest this ability to do this transformation, this healing." So I don't need that. And he does it anyways. He just proceeds to move forward and perform this miracle despite the fact that they were unbelieving. And I don't know. I think I would like to be able to have someone laugh at me in the face and me still say, "You know what? Just it's okay if you laugh at me. It's okay. I'm still here to do something, and I'm going to do it regardless of whether or not you believe in me." And I think it's just a really cool story.
And then proceeding to chapter 6. I'm not sure where I've seen it. I know it's in the Bible somewhere. I don't know if it's in Matthew or Proverbs or whatever, but it causes us to leave our hometown. And I think it goes and proceeds, especially at the beginning of chapter 6, where it shows kind of what happens. Jesus returns to his hometown. He came back to his hometown, and they're like, "No way." They're speaking of this man as a prophet, the son of Mary. Isn't he just a carpenter? Isn't he just that? And they took offense of Jesus even being there. And Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honor, except in their hometown, and among their own kin, and in their own house." and he could do no deed of power there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them. So, do you think that we can relate to Jesus by going back to our hometown? And obviously, how I see it, you grew once you left your hometown. You kind of have to grow up in a way because it's the unknown, and you have to adapt, and you have to learn new things, and you have to evolve, right? And then going back to your hometown, do you think people just look at you for what you were?
I think so. I think what this is demonstrating is the fact that, as you mentioned, the people that are there, they know you for who you were in the past, right? They saw you grow up, they saw you be a nobody, they saw you work a normal job, and and then you left, and then one day you come back and you're this hot shot. It's like, he's no hot shot, he's not special. I knew him. I played little league with him. He's not special. Why do people think that this guy's different than any of us? Like, we went to school together. Why does he think he's special? Why did he think he's better than me? And I think that's how it is, because in a way, your success is a reflection of their inadequacies. So whenever someone from your hometown that looks at you, that knows you, there, it kind of forces them to look inward. And it's like, well, shoot, how did he succeed? Like, we literally grew up in the same town. As a matter of fact, I used to, I was more popular than him in high school. I was better than him in sports. I got more, I got more girls than him in high school, and he was working at Walmart. I was his manager, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, where they look down at you. They look down at you whenever you were kids, but now you've grown up and now they're looking up to you. And it's it's humbling. And if you don't know how to take that, then you'll pretty much just, a way to cope with is to deflect and say, well, nah, he's not really that good at all. Like, he's not really that successful. Like, I mean, come on. So he owns a little detail shop, whoop de whoop. He does this little podcast, whoop de whoop. But whenever your success grows, it becomes bigger and louder than their chirping. And the only way that people can either cope with that is either A, accept the fact that, you know what, you're doing better than them and that's okay, or B, just deny it. Just deny it. He's not actually that special. He got lucky. Oh, it's because of this other person. Oh, they gave him a handout. He got, whatever excuses. And so I think it's exactly what Jesus is warning us about, is going to your hometown. It's it's the only place that people won't look at you as something otherworldly, as something special, because they've known you. It's like, because from across the world, right? We can look at someone and be like, wow, they're so successful. And the only reason they came into our the only way that they came into our lives is because their success made them grow so much that we can see them, right? And I mean, imagine at this time, right? There's no social media or nothing like that. There's no Facebook, so you only hear word of mouth. And so, for your influence to grow over a region, a lot of people got to talk about you. A lot of people got to have stories and testimonies. So that's how big Jesus had gotten, was the fact that these people had heard back at him back at home, despite him being in other regions. And so, in our lifetime, right, it's through social media that we normally see it. We get to introduce to other people. So we get to encounter these people for the first time through social media because they've grown, they're successful. And so that's our first encounter of them, is because of their success. But back at home, it's like, well, they just know him as, just a normal average Joe.
I agree. I think, yeah, I think it's as simple as that. Just people wanting to keep on looking at you as the old version of yourself, even though you've outgrown that. And I think the saying is true where they just don't want to see you above them, obviously. So they deny it or just avoid it in general.
Yeah. And I think it's sad because it's like because of this perspective that they had of Jesus, he wasn't able to do many miracles
Yeah.
because of their unbelief.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of how you could see it. It's like if someone big comes into town, it's like the whole town gets excited, everyone gets, you know what I mean, pumped. But it's like, oh well, it's just Raul. Like who cares? You know what I mean? Like I know him. And so, normally you would go to another city, you'd be able to do a lot of great things there, but then you go back home and it's like I think what's worse too is that I think you almost get excited to go back home because you're excited to give back to your community that raised you. That it's your hometown, there's always going to be a little bit of pride there. And the fact that you come back with good intentions, trying to do something nice, try to do something good for the community, and they just reject you. I mean, that's got to be a slap in the face. And it's like, well, there's not much I can do. There's not much I can do if no one believes in me or if no one's willing to accept me. But yeah, and then moving forward, it tells the full. Actually, what I like about this is that it tells the full story of how John the Baptist was beheaded. Because in Matthew, it mentioned very briefly. It went right over it how John the Baptist died. Said that he was beheaded because King Herod was asked by the daughter of Herodias, and I guess that's how they did it. But they literally went over it in a little section. This we actually got the full context of the story and what had happened. And but it came about because people said that Jesus was John the Baptist risen from the dead. But I think that what's interesting about this story, right, is that Herod he respected John. Like he even said specifically that he protected him because he was a holy man. So he kept him safe. But and that whenever he heard of him, he was kind of perplexed, but he was like, "Well, I don't really understand what this dude's saying," but he enjoyed listening to his teachings. But there was like a mutual respect there. And leave it to a woman to I guess he got seduced by a woman, I guess.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering why, because in this story it says that he would grant the woman anything, even if it was like half his kingdom, whatever. And the woman immediately went to her mother and asked, "Hey, what should I request?" And they requested the head of John the Baptist. And my question that I come up with is why? Like what was so significant of that? Why were they wanting his head? Was it because of influence? Was it because of the power that John the Baptist had? Was it because he was favored by God or by the king, What's the reasoning?
I think it's because as we mentioned, John the Baptist was not a small figure. John the Baptist was known widely and respected by Herod. And it says that he was even in his presence so that he could hear him preach and see what he had to say. And I think whenever you compare the lifestyle of John the Baptist and what he was preaching towards the lifestyle of King Herod and Herodias, those two did not go together. And I think it says here that Herodias had a grudge against him. And I think that's the same as like a blind hatred for someone that you just don't like because they don't live the life that you live. I think it's similar to the hatred that people have of Donald Trump, let's say, right? Just as an example. People genuinely hate Donald Trump and want him to die. And he's the president of the United States, right? He's a polarizing figure for a lot of people, and some people just have deep hatred for him even though they've never met him before. They never had a conversation with him. But they hate him so much that they want him dead. And if someone gave him the option and said, "Hey, you know what? I can give you the head of anyone that you want. I can kill anyone that you want." Some people would legitimately say Donald Trump. And that's not something that's far-fetched either. So I think this is kind of similar to that, in that she had this blind hatred for him because she just didn't like what he said, didn't like what he preached. And I think that's why. I think that's exactly why he was beheaded. why she wanted him to be beheaded. And it says, oh, for example, actually, this is specifically, well, not specifically, but this is why he was arrested, right? He said that he had John arrested and bound in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip, because he had married her. For John had said to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." So he was calling them out on their. Does it say that they were married? It says it's not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. So that was still his brother's wife, and because Herod had taken her, John called them out for it, saying that wasn't right. And there it is. Now she has a grudge on him. Who are you to say that I can't live how I want to live? And of course, at this time, shoot, you could request for a man's head, and if you can get it done, then you can get it done, and there's no consequences for that. No, there's no judicial system that's in place to protect this man from the king. The king can do whatever he wants. But I think it's interesting that he felt remorse. He felt sorry for it. But he couldn't back down because he said that he had dinner guests. He had made his oaths to this girl, so he was unwilling to refuse her request. But he said he felt sorry for it. So I think that's interesting. I don't know. That's an interesting little touch on it. But right after that, we see Jesus feed 5,000 with, what does it say, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish.
2 fish, yeah.
Just by lifting them up to heaven and blessing them, and then just immediately it's kind of, I don't know, I struggle to imagine how this works, right? They have the baskets and they just lift them up, bring them down, pass out bread, and then just lift it up, pass it down, just keep passing bread. I think it's a cool story. It's one of the most popular stories in the Bible, Jesus feeding 5,000, and I don't know, it's just a demonstration of his power, a demonstration and how he's able to use even the most little to do something so magnificent.
Yeah, and I think last time we read this was, I mean, he's done this, I think, multiple times, but a little detail that a few people often miss is that everyone ate and were filled. So he was able to feed, obviously, 5,000 people, but they were able to eat until they were actually filled.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing too. Just Jesus ain't just going to give you a little bit. He's going to give you what's going to satisfy you. He's going to give you plenty so that you can walk away saying that I don't need no more. I've had my fill. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's a nice touch. It's a nice detail. You know what I mean? And then after that, I think it's incredible that Jesus sees them struggling in the middle of the sea, and they're because the wind was blowing against them, and they were trying to, get across the sea. And Jesus notices him, and then I just imagine like very, very chill, very calm. He's just like, okay, let me go out there and see what's going on, and then he just walks on the water towards them. And it says that his intentions were to pass by them. He was going on an evening stroll in the park, except he wasn't walking on the grass, on the ground. He was walking on water in the middle of what seems to be like, I don't know about a storm, but it says that it was very windy. So I'd imagine the waves were pretty turbulent because of the wind. Because even the disciples were, it says they were straining with the oars to try to get across the sea. And so I don't know. I just have that. That's how I'd imagine it. Whenever it says that Jesus he got up, saw them struggling, he said he just wanted to pass by them, and went on an evening stroll on the water.
Yeah, he's like, y'all go ahead, go on without me. I'm say bye to everyone. And then it says he went up to the mountain to pray. So he was doing his own thing that whole time. And then for me, it says lake, and that they were against. He saw that they were straining at the oars against the adverse wind. So I'm assuming that they were just struggling with that. and he just came on out in the morning. He came towards them early in the morning, walking on the lake, and just said, "All right, relax. It's me. Do not be afraid."
Okay, so that's a little difference in mine because it says it's the evening in mine.
Yeah, it says he came towards them early in the morning, walking on the lake. He intended to pass them by. That's funny. Like he was just like, he's like, "Oh shit, my disciples, my bad."
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's how I imagine it. Like he's just very chill, lackadaisical, like he's going on an evening stroll, and then the disciples they're like they think they see a ghost, and he says, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." And then he just gets into the boat. And I think that's like just imagine because he's just walking, right? He's walking, he sees them, and then they start freaking out. He's like, "Hey, yo, whoa, don't be afraid. It's just me." And I guess to calm their nerves, he just goes there to show them, "Hey, it's just me." Walks in the boat, and then the wind's calm. The becomes calm immediately.
Something that I like that I'm just now noticing, and I'll give my initial thoughts of it, but it says the wind ceased, and they were utterly astounded, for they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. And my initial thoughts of that, how I understand it or how I interpret it, is they were completely shocked. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like what the fuck? He just walked on water and he just calmed down this wind that we're over here struggling with." They're over here tripping, right? But once they understood it, it was actually Jesus and that he did that, they were more sure of him. They were more confident in him, that their hearts hardened. I could be wrong because hardened could be interpreted as a negative thing as well. But that's my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you bring that up because yeah, a hardened heart. This always brings me back to Exodus. Whenever Moses was trying to get the Israelite people out of Egypt under slavery because they had been enslaved for 300 years, and God had told Moses to go set them free. And so he went to go ask Pharaoh to set them free, and of course Pharaoh refused. And it says that God hardened his heart so that he would be more inclined to deny Moses. And so that's automatically what I reference whenever I hear that his heart was hardened. And he even talks about it whenever the Pharisees are around, and he talks about the hardness of their heart, the fact that they were so because I think it proceeds to say later on in the Bible, I'm not sure where, but it references us as having the heart of the flesh, having a soft heart, because whenever you have a soft heart, you're more open and receptive towards what Jesus is trying to teach you. But whenever you have a hardened heart, it's like you're not receptive at all. You're not able to be you're not able to be unbiased. You're not able to see past your own intrinsic values. So for me, it's like whenever I hear that, I do think that is more negative in context. But I think I'm not sure exactly why that would be though.
Or it could be, now that I have that context, it could be where they were amazed, they were shocked, they were like, "What the heck?" And then they locked back in. It could be like that, but I don't know. My initial interpretation was like, "Oh, hey, they're more sure about this now," just because, like I said, a harden usually is tied to negativity, but why not look at it as more sure?
Mm-hmm. And I think, well, just reading the whole thing, then he got into the boat with them, and the wind stopped, and they were utterly astonished, for they had not gained any insight from the incident of the loaves, but their heart was hardened. So I think maybe this part where their heart was hardened was in reference to the loaves,
Yeah, what's lows?
the loaves of bread.
Oh, okay.
So that's what this is referencing. It's saying that they had not gained any insight from the feeding of the 5,000 with the loaves of bread, but their heart was hardened. And so in that way, this does take me back to whenever Pharaoh had his heart hardened by God. And I think that was a very interesting thing because imagine this, right? God is saying to Moses that he wants to set his people free. But at the same time, he's hardening the heart of the man that has the ability to set them free so that Moses can't, even though he goes to request, right? And he sends plague upon them, upon Pharaoh and the Egyptian people until eventually we have the Passover happen. The Passover of the angel of death that wiped out the firstborn son of every household that didn't have the lamb, the blood's lamb over the doorpost. So, in a way, God hardened the heart of the Pharaoh so that he could perform the Passover. Because if he hadn't have hardened the heart of the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh just gave Moses the Israelites and set them free, well then he never would have been able to perform the Passover. So there was a purpose behind it. It wasn't just God being malicious, right? So I think maybe in this sense, maybe he hardened their heart because he wanted them to be even more, whenever Jesus did more miracles and whenever Jesus performed more, like whenever he fulfilled more prophecies, that even them, they would be forced to believe instead of just wanting to believe, right? Like they were kind of like, well, I don't know. They're more skeptical. Whereas if they wanted to believe, well, now they have their bias there because they know Jesus, they like Jesus, you know what I mean? But if their heart was hardened and Jesus performed these miracles, they would have no choice but to believe because Jesus proved it to them over and over and turned that hardened heart into flesh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. And then we're able to, I mean, just going based off what we have read with Matthew, this is one of many times where Jesus shows a miracle and then they're shocked, and then you fast forward down the line, he does another miracle and they're like shocked again because exactly how you're mentioning, they have that hardened heart to where they're proved again. Jesus proves himself once again, and he's like, "You have little faith." So
yeah, it's a repetitive
Yeah.
cycle. Like they never. Jeremy brought this up as a good point in I believe it was in the recap of last week's episode, where he's like, I don't understand why Peter struggled so much, because it's like you see Jesus perform these miracles, you're with him, you see him do all these amazing things and the prophecies that he fulfills, and yet you still deny him 3 times. Like he's like, I don't understand why it wouldn't get easier to believe in Christ, and you're there with him. Like, yeah, that's my Father. Like he brought up that good point, and I think that's very interesting that we read it here, because this didn't say this in Matthew, that their heart was hardened. So I think this is very interesting how it mentions that, and it does add more insight, and I think even more context as to why their belief was always wavering. But I think it's because they didn't want to believe, they were forced to believe, and that just validates how much more convincing it was that Jesus was actually the Messiah, the Son of God. And it also allows them to not be just seen as, oh, they saw God perform a miracle, they believed him fully through, now it's unrelatable to us. Because how are we supposed to relate to these people whenever Jesus does one thing and then they're perfect disciples from there on out? And in this way, because their heart was hardened and they struggled with that belief, we're able to relate to them because we do the same thing. We struggle to believe.
Yeah, we become skeptical like after one thing, and we're like, So I think that also allows us just more opportunities to be amazed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more opportunities to look at these disciples and see ourselves in them. And this is a great insight. I'm glad we read this because I never read this before.
Yeah, that was a little like I was questioning that little last phrase of
Their heart's hardened.
but their hearts hardened. I was like, were they more sure about him? Like, was that the case? Or, but now that I have a little bit more insight on the hardened part, yeah, I can understand that. Hey, he just did some weird shit that I've never seen. Like, who is this guy? He just walked on water, you know? And he's man, like he's man, but they were obviously skeptical, but it just allowed Jesus to time after time prove himself once again, and that allowed them to obviously learn and grow in their faith as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what's the point of like growing in your faith if you meet Jesus, you 100% believe in him right away,
Yeah.
and then no matter what he does, you always believe him. Peter doesn't deny him. Judas doesn't betray him, and and then they don't leave him by himself in the Garden of Gethsemane and keep falling asleep. It's like they're able to be a better representative of what it means to be human because of
Yeah.
the hardness of their heart.
Yeah. And especially makes it just more relatable.
Yeah,
Just because I think I've ran into I maybe still run into times where I'm just like, God, is this you? Like, is this really happening? Like, hey, are you even there? You know, like, are you seeing what I'm going through? Are you listening to me? So I think that's very relatable.
absolutely. And I think it's just that matter of, well, he's going to prove himself again. Like, yeah,
That allows blessings to come in. Yeah.
absolutely, because it's in those moments of doubt where he comes through, and it's like, wow, like it's even more amazing because whenever it's like whenever things are going good, we get to overlook it, because imagine these I'd imagine the disciples are kind of on a high where they're not really present because they're just like, oh my gosh, we're handing out loaves of bread, we're feeding thousands of people, but they're not the ones that are hungry. It's the people that are there. And yet here they are, they're struggling and they're very present minded because they're freaking in the middle of the sea with the wind and storm blowing. I'm sure they were worried about how they're going to get to the other side. And then there's Jesus, and they see him walking, and then as soon as he steps in, they calm.
All nonchalant.
Nonchalant. That's how we're saying it from now on. But again and again, we see the disciples repetitively have little faith. And he has to keep telling them, why you have such little faith? Why you have such little faith? And in those moments, it's literally like him looking at us saying, oh, why do you have such little faith? Derek, why do you have such little faith? That wouldn't happen if the disciples didn't have a hardened heart and didn't have a normal like us, like how we are. Sometimes we got to touch the stove a couple of times. Sometimes, for whatever reason, some of us need to keep making that same mistake over and over for us to finally learn, okay, yeah, we shouldn't do that no more. And it's in God's grace, it's in his mercy that he allows us to connect with him despite that. Despite the times that we make those mistakes, despite the times that we don't believe, he's still there for us, and he'll still continue to perform his miracles. He'll still continue to do his thing, and then eventually we'll have our opportunity to, okay, this guy is actually legitimate. I need to stop being so hard-headed. But yeah, I'm glad that we caught that.
Yeah, and this little last section, it just goes to show how much of a following Jesus began to grow and how much his name started to spread across the lands. And once they arrived to how do you pronounce that, Gennesaret?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah, we'll say that Gennesaret. Just he was flooded with people, and they were bringing the sick, and they wanted him to perform miracles for them.
And I just imagine like literally like a sea of people, and then they just have people on like makeshift gurneys, and they're just passing them to the front. You know what I mean? Get the closest one to get the most sick to Jesus.
Yeah, and it just obviously states right here, and wherever he went into the villages, the cities, or the farms, the people laid the sick out in the marketplaces and just begged Jesus just to touch them, just to even touch them with a piece of his cloak. And it states all who had touched it were healed.
It's the power of Jesus. Like I said, I just imagine how I can't even imagine it. Like if Jesus were to be here, right? I don't even think I would feel worthy to touch his cloak. I don't even know if I would feel like, I just wouldn't feel worthy.
That's a good question. how would you feel, or like what would you do? What would you say, like, or how would you feel if Jesus Christ just came up to you? It was just you and him, or like he just
Oh
popped up.
man.
Like, what would you say? What would you do? And that's a good question, because as you can see, like with these people back in this piece of land, they were just going to him because obviously it was probably new to them. A lot of them that they're hearing about this Jesus of Nazareth. Oh, he's over here performing miracles, bringing quote unquote dead people back to life, um, walking on water, healing the sick, feeding all these people. And to them, they're just like, oh my gosh, like, shoot, I got my sick mom, I got my sick grandma, I got my sick child. Let me just, I believe, like, I've heard about all these miracles. Let me get a piece of this. So that's obviously news to them. But with our knowledge and where we're at now in our faith, what would you do if you were in that position where Jesus popped up and he was like, just popped up in little old Lubbock, Texas, and you're there doing your thing, maybe at work, maybe at the gym, and you're walking out, right? And you just see him walking by, nonchalant. Are you running up to him? Or what about this? What if he goes up to you?
Uh-huh.
You're just like, what are you saying to him? What are you doing? Or if you see him walking by, what are you doing? What are you saying?
I don't even think I could say anything. I really don't. I'd probably start sobbing. I'll probably start crying because the first thing that I would think of is all the things that I've done wrong and all the habits, all the times that I sin, throughout the week, throughout the day, the things that I know that I do that I know would hurt him. I think that's the first thing that would come across my mind is like, man, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. And I'd probably just cry. I don't even know if I could go up to him. And that's probably sad. Like I would love to be able to just run up to Jesus and give him a hug and say I love him. And part of me is like, well, I would try to do that. Like I would try to muster the courage to be able to go up to Jesus and hug him and let him know that I love him and that he's my king. But at the same time, I think I battle with the fact that I don't feel worthy. And and maybe that's a problem of mine. Maybe that's something that I need to work on. But I couldn't say nothing, man. I couldn't say nothing. I wouldn't feel worthy. I wouldn't even feel worthy to kiss his feet. I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough because I want him to know how much I love him, but at the same time, it's like, man, you're Jesus. You're the King of Kings. You're my Lord and Savior. I don't know if I feel worthy, but I probably know what he would say. He'd probably be like, "Get up. You're my son. I love you." And I'd probably just break down crying even more about it, honestly, but yeah, I think I need to. It's a good question because it makes me think about what Jeremy had said about why don't we treat Jesus like he's here all the time. And if you think about Jesus as being here, being present, even if you can't necessarily see him, like you can feel him, you can experience Jesus. And I know that I would act different. I know I would be on my I'd be on top of my A game all the time, not just part of the time when I feel like it, whenever it's convenient, but I'd act right all the time and follow him all the time if I knew he was watching. And the funny thing is that he is, but it's easier to ignore it. It's easier to bless you.
Thank you.
It's a lot easier to just put it away for a little bit and avoid the responsibility because you can't see him, but he's still there. And so I think what Jeremy had a lot of good points last podcast whenever he said that we should treat Jesus like he's here all the time. And yeah. Well, yeah. What about you?
Okay, so my thoughts would be,
Real quick. Shout out Austin. Love you, brother.
hey, Austin,
know.
bro, it's been so long.
It's been so long. Hope you're doing well, brother. Hope
Yeah.
you're doing well.
I'm a blessing.
Miss you. Hope your mom, and hope your dad, your brother. Hope they're
Yeah.
all doing well, man.
He was a good
Tell
people.
your
man.
mom I said hi. Tell your mom I said hi. She's a sweet lady.
If Jesus were to come up to me, or if I were to see him walking, I think I would get really childlike. And by childlike, I describe it as I can just think of the emotion. I feel as if my heart would drop. Not in embarrassment, not in, more as if in shock, just like, oh my God, it's you. It's really you. Just in shock, and I would just go up to him and hug him, and I feel as if I would break down, just in his arms, just hugging him. That's how I would see it. And the thoughts and the emotions that raise for me is just, I need you. Like, I need you. It'd be as if I know him. You know, like, that's my father right there. That's God. That's Jesus Christ. I know him. That no words needed to be said. No request. Just that's really all I can think of. Just my heart dropping when seeing him, and then just being able to interact with him. I would just give him a hug and more than likely break down. Just, and I wouldn't even say I need him. It's more like an action. I'm showing him. I'm just like, I need you. Like, I knew it. Like, I knew it. And that's really all I can think of.
It gets me emotional just thinking about it, man. Because seriously,
It brings me joy.
Yeah.
It brings me joy just because I'm like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. And just knowing him, like, we already have a relationship, you know, like, like, just being able to see him in physical form, and I'm just like, I knew it. I knew it. Like, I read you. Like, I read your books.
Yeah.
Like, I spoke to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know me. You know my heart. You know what I've been through. And you've carried me all this way and made me and helped me make me into the man that I am today. Like, and that's it. I can't, it's like that. I'm describing just emotions, just the feelings. There's nothing to say. I feel like there would be nothing to say just because he knows. He knows me and I know him. And that's it. Just hug him, breaking down. Man, I knew it, you know?
Bro, as soon as he says like Derek, as soon as he says my name, bro, I'm just like, that's it. Like,
just
imagine hearing your name come out of his mouth. Your
I
name,
can't, bro. I don't even know if he would tell me anything. That's the thing. Like,
it could just be something, bro, my son. Like,
maybe,
bro,
shoot.
you know what I
I'd
mean?
be
Like,
like,
because imagine, because
I'd already be sobbing
I'd
just
already be bawling my eyes
seeing
out,
him, bro. Like, my heart would drop the initial time I see him. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. And I'm not necessarily fanboying. It's just in shock. Just, there's no way. I knew it. Like, I knew you would come. I knew you'd be here.
Like, seriously, I'd imagine similar how he said to the woman that was bleeding, daughter. That's how he addressed her.
Exactly.
So I'd imagine him say the same thing, son. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I don't know if you've
man.
gone. Let me ask you this. I don't know if you've gone like a long period without seeing your dad, for example.
Uh-huh.
Like, very long period. Like, for me, I've gone months without seeing my dad just because he's back and forth from Mexico. And I remember just one day he popped up here at the shop, and I'm like, Dad, what the? I don't know where it said. Just went up to him like, how have you been? Like how's it going? You good? Like, you know. And I feel as if it's like that with Jesus, with God, my Father up in heaven, you know, because I know Him and He knows me, and I understand. And I can understand where you're coming from when you say you wouldn't feel worthy. Like that's a known, bro. For me, I know I'm not perfect, and I know I fall short every single time. But because God died for us on that cross, He made us worthy. You know what I'm saying? We're worth it because He died on that cross, and that's what God, Jesus, tells us. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that shout out my nephew, but because I had a bad habit of saying like, obviously we sin, right? Obviously, but I had a bad habit of saying, man, I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner. I'm not worthy. I'm not right. It's a bad habit. But because Jesus Christ died on the cross for us, He made us worthy. That made us worthy. That action, that sacrifice, you know. And my nephew bluntly put it. He said, "So does that mean nothing to you when you say when you say you're not worthy of it? Does him dying on the cross mean nothing to you? No, it does. So you need to change that." And I completely agree with that. And that's why I'm saying, like, if I were to see him, I'm just like, I'd go up to him, give him a big old hug, break down more than likely, because I'm sure his hug would be. And it's not even just a physical, right? Just a physical hug. It's more the like the connection, the love, the energy. You know that'd be like heavy, and you just peace. I don't know. I wouldn't know how. I can only imagine. You know, but it's that thought, like, man, I know you, like, I'm your son, you know, and I can kind of relate that to seeing my father. That it's been months since I've seen him. I'm like, Dad, like going up to him, giving him a big hug, and just catching up, like another day. You know what I'm saying? We've had moments like that where we go. I mean, we do it often every Friday. We don't see each other for like a whole week, but we see each other Friday,
We
and
used to
it's
not see each other for months or years.
longer, and
Yeah.
it's just initially we just catch up because we know each other, we know who we are, and that's how I'm seeing that relationship or that interaction with Jesus Christ going. I'm like, Father, like, the
It's like seeing someone you just haven't seen in a long time.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the heck? Like,
Uh,
I just spoke to you yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
but now you're here.
Yeah, in our minds, we're like, I don't want to say it's proven. It's just no. It is. It's like I'm proven right. I'm like I knew you would be here.
Yeah.
I knew you were real. I knew you existed. I knew you were my father.
Mhm.
You know, and just being vulnerable. I feel like you're in your most vulnerable state with him just because he knows you.
Yeah.
There's no hiding anything. You can't hide it. You can't pretend like, oh man, I'm all good. Or like you can't do that just
Yeah.
because he's seen you at your worst, and
Mhm.
him out of all people was there,
Yeah.
and that's how I'd
Yeah,
interpret
all the walls that you put up, all of the facade, the lies, everything. You can lie to everyone. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to God.
Exactly.
You can't lie to Jesus. So as soon as he sees you, I think it's exactly how you said. It's almost like you're naked.
Yeah.
Like you can't lie to me. You can't say that you're doing good because I know you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's okay. Come here. You can cry.
Yeah.
I got you. And I think that's just powerful. Like that's the type of I can't wait for that. I can't
Yeah.
wait to meet Jesus. Like that's the thing too. I think whenever like I said, the prospect of death isn't scary and we talked about it in one sense with the child, the daughter, right? That the 12-year-old daughter that had died what was he said that she was asleep, brought her back to life, brought Lazarus back to life. He conquered death. But on the other side it's like, man, once we die, we get to meet Jesus. Like, bro, how exciting is that? the fact that we get to meet our Father, we get to meet the man who died on our behalf, who, as you mentioned, made us worthy despite us being unworthy, who made us righteous despite us being unrighteous. And once we meet him, it's like, finally, I get to tell you in person, face to face, just how much I love you, just how much it means to me that you died for me, that you did that. And like how you said, it's an unspoken thing. I don't even have to say nothing because he knows. But the fact that I can get there, and I can give him a hug, I
It's
can
like
cry in his arms.
how I'm mentioning, like, it's childlike.
Bro, it is.
It's
Yeah.
childlike where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my pastor right here. It's my
Yeah.
father. And
Yeah.
you just a kid almost
Mhm.
running up to him, and I don't know. That's how I describe it. I'm like, I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew you. I know you, and you know me. It's like fanboying basically,
Yeah.
but it's childlike, bro. Like,
And that's what he asks us to be like, though. He says that you should be like children. And I think that's a perfect example of what he means by that, like that childlike love and adoration, the admiration for him. And I think it also manifests itself in many other ways, because I would say that I'm childlike in a lot of ways, because I'm willing to dream big like a child. I'm willing to think that, you know what, I can do it all. I'm willing to think, you know, if someone else can do it, so can I. I I think like a child in a lot of ways, because I look at the biggest superheroes in the world and I take inspiration from them and I say, I can do it too. I look at these problems and say, I can conquer them all. I look at all the things that are, you know, all the directions that I'm getting pulled, and I can say, I can do it all. You know, and that's how I think. That's like my childlike mentality that I have, is that anything's possible as long as I believe big enough, as long as I, you know, show up every day, put in the work, and do my best. I believe I can do whatever it is I want. And I think that's the childlike mentality that he's also calling us to have, is like, be childlike in your nature. Who cares what anyone else has to say? Who cares what people think? Be childlike and believe. Believe, dream, have fun, experience life, and have good joy. Don't be so cynical. Don't be so pessimistic. Be optimistic. What's the point of living life if you're miserable all the time? Have fun and experience love. Love, and love hard. Love as much as I loved you. And I think that's what Jesus calls us when he says, that's what he calls us to do when he says, be like children. And like you mentioned, whenever we get to meet him, be like a child running up to his father.
yeah, that's how I just describe him.
Yeah.
Biggest fan right here,
Yeah.
fanboy.
Even the toughest,
I'll be honest,
bro,
yeah,
even
I'm
the
not
toughest
a,
guy, bro.
I'm not a fanboy for anyone,
Uh-huh.
but for him, JC, yeah, I that's how I'd put it.
Yeah. I run up crying, man.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
crazy.
like, hold on, did I just say JC walking by? Like, there's no way.
Where it's like, you know, you're all old, you go to sleep, you wake up, and then you're like, who's that right there?
I know you.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
Bringing the oldest spirits to be like childlike.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Uh,
That's how I'd interpret it, and
but just imagine hearing those words, Raul, my son,
yeah,
you've done well. My faithful servant.
like, or him saying, I know you too.
That right there. See, I'd be like on my 5th session of just sobbing, just breaking down, crying, bro.
Not even being able to, but JC.
But that's it. That's all the noise I'd be coming out of my mouth. But he'd be like, I know. I love you too.
All right, stop. I have
Yeah.
to check us one time.
But I'm excited for that. And it's just I've felt the love of a mother and a father, a grandmother, right? But imagine the embodiment of love. Being in the presence of, literally, whenever you say love, that's what Jesus is. Imagine that. Because you already know how warm and inviting it is to be in the presence of abuela, grandma, right? And whenever she's making homemade tortillas, you know, she got some frijoles, some sopita. That's my thing. And then she's there and she's like, "Ay, mijo, come here. Give me beso, un beso, right? Dame un beso." Like that love that you feel in that environment. Imagine that, but like 10x, 100x meeting Jesus. The amount of love that's going to be in the air. It's incredible. I can't even imagine it like you mentioned. I can only imagine. And eventually, we won't be imagining because we'll be united with Jesus in heaven. And I'm excited for that, to spend the rest of eternity with Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But without further ado, I think there's no better way to end it than by leaving y'all with that. What would you do if you met Jesus? And whenever you do meet Jesus, what are you going to say to him? And what do you hope he says to you? Is he going to say, "I know you. Good job, my good and faithful servant"? Or will it be, "I never knew you. Turn away from me"? Hopefully it's the prior. But without further ado, we love y'all. Catch on another episode next Friday, 9:15 Central Time, on the #1 podcast in the world, Confessions. Love y'all. See y'all next time. Happy 4th of July.